In the last videos, we thought about how do we think about defining the problem and getting the perfect prompt, which will be key to actually having something great come out of whatever tool that you use to build any website and any app. And now I'm going to show you how to actually build something in Figma Make, which in my opinion is the easiest way for designers and PMs and other non-technical folks to get started. My name is Harry. I lead design at one of Europe's biggest education companies with over 20 million users. And on the side, I love to build apps and discover how to use AI to make my life easier, make the lives of my colleagues easier, be a better boyfriend, and much more. So stay tuned and I'll show you just how I would go about this. We now have the ideal prompt to get started. If you haven't seen those videos, by the way, I'll link them below, where we define the problem and basically do all of the groundwork to get to the perfect prompt, which will enable you to just get a much better outcome out of any AI tool and any AI app builder that you might be using. But just to recap, what we're trying to do here is to build a super simple app, countdown for cooking pasta, and we'll be building it using different tools, going from the easiest, which is Figma Make, which is this video, to the most complex, using advanced tools like Claude to build not a website, but even an entire mobile app and Mac app. But let's get back to Figma Make. I think this is the easiest because it's very familiar to you if you are a product manager or designer or user researcher. And it's also very intuitive to use. It's kind of like ChatGPT. You paste in the prompt from the last time. I'll do that now. And then just click on enter. And what happens is that on the left-hand side, you have your input, and below you have the reasoning of the model. So it tries to understand what it is that you want from it, and then build a plan to turn it into code, and thus a working website. And here you see it actually writing code. So this took all in all, 10 seconds, 20 seconds? It's still not entirely appearing yet on my side, but I guess it will in a few seconds. It's working out the details, still thinking. Let's see. Okay, so this is the timer that it came up with. It's not very retro-like. I guess the font could help on that front, and I don't like the traditional purple background, but at least it allows me to set different timers. I'm not in a great place if my pasta for some reason takes 8 minutes instead of 10, but at least it should be working. I'm not entirely sure what happens at the end of it, but it is somewhat usable. Let's see what it looks like on an iPhone. I think it looks okay on an iPhone. I think the font could be bigger. I think this could be simplified. I don't like these two buttons. They look too similar to the time selection pills or whatever you want to call those. But I think it's a decent start. And if you wanted to, you could actually ask Figma in this case to make some changes. I'm not sure if it can actually even add an image, maybe, but let me try that. Let's say we add the image of the penguin and say, please add this character to the website to make it more playful. Let's see, I actually haven't done this before because, to be honest, Figma Make is not a tool that I'm using a lot. It is neatly integrated with Figma, but in my opinion, it's still a couple of generations away from being properly useful. And it's still not as good in my recent experience as tools like Lovable, and it's still worlds away from a tool like Cursor or Claude. By the way, I think that getting a basic understanding of code is super useful to be able to give better prompts, understand when stuff is going wrong, why it's going wrong, and how you can change it, and also understand a bit what's happening behind the scenes. And so if the AI is going off rails for any reason, you can more easily get it back on track. That being said, it apparently added the playful character. Let me have a look at the preview. Yep, well, that's not great, but I guess the input image was also not great. What did I expect? It could have thought of removing the background in and of itself, maybe, and maybe have put it at the top, which would have seemed like a more intuitive placement, because ideally you would want the buttons to be at the very bottom, to be close to the thumb, and something more decorative like an avatar more likely at the top, but good enough. So now we build a first prototype using a very detailed prompt, which basically constrained Figma Make quite a bit. So let's see now what happens if we give it a prompt that's much broader and gives it much more space to be creative, and let's see what it comes up with. So below you see the complex prompt which we used for the first version, and now let's use the much simpler one. And let's see how it does with that alone. So it's going to create a countdown, cooking timer, playful aesthetic. Okay. It didn't even ask any clarifying questions like some other tools might, which I guess for this use case, since it's just exploration, so to speak, is fine. But in general, I do enjoy the other tools, partially because of this planning stage, which allows me to refine my thinking and poke holes into my thinking, because I oftentimes find that tools like Lovable or Claude Code or Cursor, if you ask it to plan it out, will come back with questions which will help you clarify what exactly it is that you want, and maybe even decide between some alternative path. So that being said, let's see what it's coming up with. We can have a look at the code. I'm guessing even while it's generating the code, super simple. You have the style files in here, which are quite standard. Apparently it's a Vite sort of web app, and now it's fully done. So this is what it would look like. Much more vibrant and out there, I guess. And although this is overflowing, it's not the best. It's not bad, actually. I kind of like it better than the previous one. And I can easily add increments of 10 seconds, reduce them. The preset options work well. And if I click on start, what happens? It's cooking. Well, without this random circle, I think it would actually be quite nice. So now you saw what happens if I give it a very detailed prompt. It looks very simple and standard. And if you tell it to go wild, it will get a bit more creative. You lose control, but you might be surprised, positively surprised even, by what comes out. I think this gives you a decent understanding of how a tool like Figma Make looks and how you can play around with it to actually build a prototype. What's also nice here is that you can publish these mini prototypes, and I think then even get a quick link that you can share with a colleague and actually show them what you're planning on. Let me super quickly actually do that. Have a look at what it looks like. So this is opening up the same link in the browser. What is nice is that even if you're in incognito mode and your colleague, for instance, is on a different account or doesn't have a Figma account, they can still have a look. That's great. And it's super easy. It's one click. That's a benefit. But again, not my favorite tool. We'll get back to it down the line. So thanks for watching. In the next video, we're going to be testing one of my more preferred tools, which are also no code, which is called Lovable. And we'll do the exact same thing and see what kind of outcome we get by feeding it the same initial prompt. And I'll show you some of the differences between those tools and why I oftentimes would recommend Lovable instead to a friend if they're not yet ready to take the leap into more intimidating programs like Cursor or Claude Code. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one.